Is sequester really that awful? That's the question that columnist Fallon Forum asks, and we're going to talk with her shortly. She's from Providence, Rhode Island, a noted journalist and columnist at the national level. Honored to have her with us today. We're also going to talk about the State House. Dan Kelly, from State Representative from Newton, is going to join us. We're also going to talk with Nakisha Phillips about her journey through pregnancy using a doula and a midwife, and also Max Wellman about some of the local music stuff happening under his watch. We'll be back in a minute to kick off the conversation on today's Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbillig into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
Ludwig van Beethoven here. I used to be so tired all the time, not from composing and playing, but from moving my piano. But now I feel so much better. I call S&P Piano, and they will bring my piano anywhere. They also sell and rent pianos, used ones, new ones. You get the idea.
Call S&P Piano right away at 208-6453. That's 208-6453.
S&P Piano.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I just love me that Brother Trucker tune, folks. That's downtown. Brother Trucker performing last night at El Bait Shop. They'll be there on a regular event this year. I think every first Wednesday, I believe. Check them out, Brother Trucker. Great local band. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and also Physicians for Social Responsibility, the Iowa chapter of PSR, for being proud sponsors of this program. And I want to thank Gateway Market for helping us with this segment of our show. And I want to thank Fallon Forum for joining us. Hello, Fallon. It's delightful to have you with us.
Great to be there.
And I've known you for a long time through your excellent commentary, but I've never had the chance to speak with you till today, and it's a delight and an honor.
Well, I'm delighted to talk to you.
And you're in Providence, Rhode Island.
That's where I hang my hat, yes.
Yes. And what kind of a hat do you hang? All right. Well,
nice-looking hats.
Good. Well, I hope it's at least as sharp as my Irish cap that I'm sporting today.
Well.
Anyway.
That's always in fashion.
Hey, let's talk some serious stuff. Sequester. You wrote a piece recently that appeared in our Des Moines Register, which caught my attention. You, at some point, you asked the question, so has this correspondent lost her mind and joined the Tea Party? Because you were saying some things that you thought might resonate with some of the Tea Party folks. Give me your take on the sequester, and then let's move on to look at the news from what happened yesterday in the U.S. House.
Okay, well, my take on the sequester, and I was, before it went into effect, I guess March 1st, I was worried. I was sort of buying into all these terrible predictions that the world would come to an end and the stock markets would crash, and then all of a sudden you saw the Dow hitting all kinds of historic highs. That Wall Street wasn't worried about it, and also understanding that certain people are going to be affected by it, but a lot of people aren't really going to be affected by it much at all.
Now, that's true in the short term. What about the long term?
Well, the long term, it's if it keeps going on, I mean, what it does is it it forces these budget cuts, half in domestic programs, half in the military programs. I've always felt there was a lot of waste in government anyway, and I especially concerned about the sort of the out of control defense budget too. It just keeps going up and up and up and up.
Yeah. And
so here finally we have something that's going to force cuts in it. And I think there are more artful ways of doing it. And I'm sort of pleased that the House passed that continuing resolution on Wednesday that would give the Defense Department a little more flexibility to handle the cuts. But in the column, I paint the picture of Northern Virginia, which I drive through from time to time.
Right.
And it's astounding. It's astounding how much luxury and jobs and neighborhoods and jewelry stores and Apple stores and all these things spreading across the Northern Virginia countryside, all of it Defense Department money, all of it taxpayer money, and most of it built since the war on terror began.
Yeah,
and you don't have to be a fiscal conservative to say what the heck is all this?
Yeah.
All these taxpayer dollars doing?
Now, interestingly, here locally, we have a very strong peace movement in Iowa. Have for a long time,
yeah.
And maybe that part of that might be because we don't have a lot of defense installations here.
Yeah.
But we had a protest by local peace groups recently, speaking out against the risk of going into this sequester. And again, that was despite the big cuts that this would affect on the military. That seems contrary to your perspective that, and I kind of understand that too. Maybe this is the way we get to some reductions in military spending by letting this thing happen.
Yeah. Well, the politics of it is that most Democrats, want cuts in the defense budget. Most Republicans don't want the defense budget cut. And if you recall, Romney ran on a program of increasing defense spending.
Right.
So it's been an oddity of this entire debate that it's been always framed as something that Republicans don't care about. Hey, let's go and do this sequester, and that Democrats were desperate to prevent from happening.
Well, and we have gone and quote done the sequester, and despite that, despite Republicans thinking, well, let's just go ahead and do it. They moved pretty quick in the U.S. House this week to pass a continuing resolution.
Yeah.
And again, you pointed out a couple minutes ago, Froma, that basically gives the Defense Department a lot of leeway in terms of how they manage those cuts. I don't quite know what that looks like, but it does. One thing it looks like to me is preferential treatment. I don't imagine anybody else who's being cut by the sequester was given the same opportunity to have as much leeway as the Defense Department was.
Well, I think they all should, though. I think you say we're gonna cut X number of dollars, and you sort of decide how those dollars are cut. I kind of think it makes sense, and so much as Paul Krugman has said many times, the Republicans sort of believe in militarized Keynesian economics.
Yeah.
In that they want to cut budgets, but somehow when it comes to the defense budget, they say, no, we can't cut that budget because it's going to cost jobs.
Right, or it's going to make our country weak somehow.
Right. Yeah. Well, they'll say it makes the country weak, but also the strange argument is that it's going to cut jobs. But the truth of the matter is, if you cut funds for highway building, you're cutting jobs. If you cut funds for schools, you're cutting. You're cutting jobs, and so somehow they've had these blinders on, and hold that cutting the defense budget is somehow different in terms of jobs than cutting any other government program.
Well, as I read the coverage of this vote yesterday in the U.S. House, again, that the bill, the continuing resolution passed by the House, goes to the Senate, and it looks like the Senate is talking about extending the same kind of flexibility that the House gave to the Department of Defense to the other agencies whose budgets are affected. Again, I guess that sounds good. I don't know quite what that means in terms of the detail, the fine tuning, but I wonder whether the House will go along with that, and I wonder why Boehner never considered doing that in the first place.
I think a lot of our representatives, and definitely on the Republican side, they have their pet programs that they want to. That they want to protect. Do you remember early on, a few years ago, that Boehner was pushing a vote for a, special vote to keep some jet engine to ensure that it's continued to be built in Ohio, and the Tea Party people rose up against it and voted his measure down.
I had forgotten that, but I appreciate the reminder.
and so I think a lot of these people have pet projects, and so they don't like the idea of the money being divvied up without their hands on it.
Right.
They don't want the money being divvied up in a, excuse the expression, rational way.
Right. We wouldn't want to do anything rational. Now you make a really good point in your column too that I want to bring to people's attention. You talk about how the sequester slashes military spending, which, as you pointed out, Democrats tend to support, not entirely, but tend to. Republicans tend to oppose. And you mentioned that with the exception of Hawaii and Maryland, the deepest defense cuts are being felt in red, or as you also note, purple states that tend to be the states where the populace are very, very intent on shrinking government.
Right.
But the irony, of course, is that these red state politicians are also fighting tax hikes, yet those tax hikes would primarily benefit or primarily be hit the hardest on folks in blue states where the incomes tend to be higher. I mean, that's all sorts of crazy double irony there.
It is, and I once wrote a column called "What's the Matter with Connecticut?" A takeoff on "What's the Matter with Kansas?" Just reversing it, and and the senators, at the time, Dodd and Lieberman, they're all saying, "Let's raise taxes," blah blah blah, and at that time, Connecticut had the highest incomes, and its people were most subject to the income tax.
Well, we in the Midwest appreciate a shot being taken at an eastern state. So thank you. That was good.
Anytime.
Anytime?
No, not anytime.
I was going to say anytime. Well, I mean, this is it's going to be interesting to watch. The other thing fascinating about yesterday was Obama meeting with key Senate Republicans, which I commend. I mean, anytime you can extend a hand across the political aisle, especially if you can do it over dinner, that's inclined to build some an environment where you might actually accomplish some compromise. And I think that was good. I think it was interesting. I wonder what was discussed. I wonder what they have for dessert. But beyond that, I'm curious as to why. I mean, I can probably speculate, and maybe you have a really quick answer too.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell, not invited. Interesting.
I am not sure. I can't really answer that. Although I will say there are reports that Obama is going to meet Senate Republicans next week at their weekly closed-door lunch, and that McConnell is going to be there. And in fact, he announced it. So they are going to get together in some way, shape, or form next week.
Just as an aside, we have an interesting Mitch McConnell connection here in Des Moines, Iowa. A gal who comes on this program every Friday, Heather Ryan. Her feature is called Ryan's Rants. You would enjoy her. She's from the east side of Des Moines. She's very politically engaged, and she lived in Kentucky for a while. And she decided she worked for a nonprofit organization. Her husband was overseas. And her daughter ran into Mitch McConnell. She was 10 at the time, and very feisty, like her mom, challenged Mitch McConnell, saying, "Are you going to let my dad die in this war?" And McConnell was so appalled at being challenged by a 10-year-old that he managed to get Heather fired from her job. And she decided that the best she could do to get back at McConnell was to run for Congress. So she challenged Ed, I forget the guy's last name, a congressman from Kentucky. She challenged him in a very Republican district, got creamed, but had the satisfaction of at least making life interesting for McConnell and his friends in that election. She's back here in Des Moines now. So that's our little Mitch McConnell connection here.
Yeah. Well, I sure is. Yeah. Well, Mitch McConnell has had a lot of pain in Kentucky politics.
Yes.
I mean, you recall that he was not a supporter of Rand Paul.
Right.
And the Tea Party put Rand Paul in and not McConnell's handpicked candidates.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard this talk about him landing a primary opponent this time around.
Well, I can believe it.
Yeah.
I can believe it because it may be hard for you and for I to countenance this, but he is considered perhaps a little too liberal among members of the Tea Party.
But not liberal enough, or at least not open-minded enough to get an invitation to dinner with Obama and other key Senate Republicans. So it'll be interesting to see where this sequester thing goes. My take is it's kind of like the boy crying wolf. I don't know how many times you can say, the sky is falling, we're going to go off the cliff, the whole country is going to collapse, the economy is going to tank, and you get people all riled up. I mean, people have been really riled up in the past, but, you get to the point now and folks are saying, okay, well, again. And I'm afraid even the continuing resolution, let's presume something actually does pass both chambers.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we're just going to kick the can down the road a little bit further and the public will lose interest even more profoundly.
I think that's what's happening. I think there is a certain fatigue about, a certain deadline fatigue. And in this case, the deadline isn't something like raising the debt limit, which would have been total disaster.
Right, yes.
And the sequester cuts kick in little at a time, and I think for people of all political persuasions,
right,
there are things being cut that they want cut, and things being cut that they don't want cut, and so there's a little of something for everyone in this, even though, as I say, this is no way to run a railroad. You'd
right.
like to have a grown-up sitting around a table saying, well, what do we want government to do, and how can it do it efficiently?
Yeah. Well, even inefficient trains like Amtrak can sometimes get to their destination eventually, right?
Right, they sort of chug in.
Well,
so
interesting.
Pull them in. Yeah.
Interesting that the sequester officially happened on March 1st. If you'd been in Des Moines that day, I was having a birthday party. I turned 55 that day, and I also used the occasion to announce a campaign to recruit 1,000 people to march across the country to call for climate action on the climate change crisis. So. We'll see. Since the sequester hasn't tanked the economy or the country, maybe there'll be time for us to rally enough public pressure to bring some attention in Congress to the need to address the climate change issue. But that's another
that sounds
conversation.
Like an excellent action. That sounds
Yeah.
like an excellent action. And climate change is probably the bigger threat than everything else we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, I think that. I think it's the biggest threat we've ever faced as a species.
Yes, it could be.
Yeah. Well, and again, I haven't been around that long, but hey, thank you so much for joining us, Froma Harap. And again, I want to make sure I'm saying your name right because I do this once in a while.
Well, it's Harap.
Harap. I'm sorry.
But that's
I even rehearsed it before the show, and I still got it wrong.
Hey, you had a 50% chance.
And blew it. Okay, Froma Harap, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, you can look for Froma's columns in the Des Moines Register, and you've also got a website like everybody does these days.
Yes, it's fromaharrop.com.
FROMAHARROP.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure, Ed.
All right. Folks,
Okay.
I also want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment of our show. Gateway is our local grocery store. Why pump your money into a grocery store that's going to take the dollars out of state when you can spend them right here in the local community where they get recirculated in the economy? Gateway has everything I ever need, and they get a lot of it from local sources, from local farms, dairies, other businesses. And as I discovered this week, they have fantastic flowers as well. I got some sitting on my table that smell just wonderful. I already feel like I brought spring inside my home, despite the fact that there's still, 6-8 inches of snow on the ground. So again, check them out, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe, and yes, the cafe part, breakfast, lunch, and supper. They're at 20th and Woodland in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. I'll be back in a minute. State Representative Dan Kelly joining us. We're going to talk about gambling and what else is happening at the Iowa State House.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right. So the Des Moines Register comes out in favor of the Keystone Pipeline. I am just scratching my noggin on this one. There have been some excellent responses to that. Let's just call it a mistake, to that bad editorial. And we will probably talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, as I want to do that justice. I've got a couple good letters, good letters and emails in response to the Register's piece. Tomorrow also, Ron Yarnell's going to join us. I can't remember what we're talking with Ron about, Maddie. Do you know? All right, Maddie's getting her headset out so she can instruct us here.
He's talking about, so this is kind of what he's talking about. It's like the Bible and how people use the Bible to
Okay, so
start
Frank will probably call in tomorrow, in other words.
Oh, definitely.
All right, darn. Okay, so we'll talk with Ron about that, about climate change, and we're also going to talk with Scott Hartstook with the Legal Aid Society about a big event coming up, and of course tomorrow, Heather Ryan joining us as well. But more to the present moment, Dan Kelly in the studio with me. Dan, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ed. It's always a pleasure to head over here from the Capitol on Thursday afternoon. And your producer sounded strangely like your bicycle.
That is a coincidence.
They have very similar voices.
They may be related, but I can guarantee you they're not the same.
Okay,
person.
all right.
And again, if corporations can be people, then so can my bike.
I don't want you to blow the image here. I have. Yeah. Sure. So.
All right, so you look exceptionally perky for a man who was just crawled out of the state capitol on Funnel Day.
Oh,
what's wrong with you?
Funnel week.
Funnel week.
Funnel day. Funnel week.
Well, this is the final day right here.
Well, yes.
Technically tomorrow, but
technically tomorrow.
But you all have to go home on Friday. So
go home and visit with constituents, right. You're just as busy on the weekend as you are during the week. So
people like to tease legislators. Well, you only work 4 days and you go home for a 3-day weekend. But I know better. Well, you work as hard on the weekend as you do at the State House. But
the weekends are sometimes tougher.
And maybe a little more predictable. And Funnel Week can be very unpredictable. But boom, you're there. It's the day.
Yeah. Well, this has been a good funnel week. There are some committees that are very, very, very busy, and there are some that have basically wrapped things up earlier in the week. I had kind of a mixture of those. So I was ranking member on, I think, 3 different bills in the Ag Committee. That was the bulk of what I spent the week on. I've said this before, lots of folks on the outside of the building, they read the paper, they listen to the radio, they watch the news, they think that we're all up there arguing about the same 3 or 4 topics every single day. That is not the case. We're assigned individual bills that we've got to work on, and we've got to get through the process. And Funnel Week is a key part of that process, because if a bill doesn't make it throughout a committee by today or tomorrow, it's done. It's done for the year.
Well, and if leadership really wants to, they can always find a clever way to attach it as an amendment or something.
Well, sure. But for rank and file members, this is it.
It's it. Yeah. So, anything passed that you feel particularly pleased about, or did you stop anything bad that you feel pleased about having stopped?
The Agriculture Committee generally works in a very bipartisan way, and I think we passed a couple good bills. I was able to express some slight concerns about a couple of them that were brought up to the committee, and I think it's better to pound those out before the bill gets to the floor. Right. Not sure what your philosophy on that was, but I think that the closer we can get to a good bill before it hits the floor, the better off everybody's going to be.
Well, it really depends. Sometimes that's a really good idea. And sometimes it just doesn't happen because you don't have enough time in committee to really work on a bill appropriately.
Right. But, hopefully when you have a bill vetted within the subcommittee or committee, you've got people on those committees theoretically who have at least some background or some knowledge of the topic.
Right.
And I think that the discussions that happen on these bills in the subcommittees are far more interesting and I think more productive than a lot of the discussions that actually happen on the floor.
Now, I had
that's just my personal take on it.
It's a good take. Yeah. And I had yesterday I had Tom Coates on this program.
Yeah.
Tom Coates, you, myself, the three of us probably don't agree on much, but one thing we do agree on is gambling.
Yeah,
and,
we do.
And there are a couple bills this year that have been introduced on that subject. One regarding smoking in casinos.
Yeah.
One regarding internet gambling.
Yes.
What's the status of those in the House?
Well, unless Tom Coates is a Red Sox fan, that's probably the only thing that all three of us agree on. But
I'll have to ask him. I don't know.
Yeah, he could be. He seems like maybe he is. But there's lots of bills up there that deal with gambling. Unfortunately, I have not been assigned to work on any of those bills. I did introduce a bill that would ban smoking in any new casino that might be built in the state of
so
Iowa.
That was a variation on what Janet Peterson offered.
Yeah, kind of a
Senate.
variation on it. And I did talk with Senator Peterson about that and let her know what I was doing in that effort to get smoking off the casino floor because
but that's not going anywhere.
Well, no, it's not. But the bills were introduced, and we can live to fight another day.
Nice try.
So,
and the fight may continue because in a vote that surprised me, Lynn County went overwhelmingly in favor of a casino. And that's despite having a lot of casino money on the opposing side.
Yeah, I was
competition didn't want it.
Right. I was extremely disappointed in that vote. I was surprised at the margin, and there's many more hurdles for that casino to jump over before it actually starts taking money out of the pockets of people who can't afford it in Lynn County and from elsewhere.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens there. The other vote, of course, is in Warren County. That one hasn't
coming up
happened
very
yet, but
soon. I'm not
up.
sure what the date of that is, but we've got to keep a close eye on that. In 2008, I was involved with a group that defeated a casino referendum in Jasper County, and we defeated that referendum by a margin of 62 to 38%. So almost the opposite of what happened in Lynn County. And I keep very close tabs on those referendums. I think that's an important step in the process. It is a grassroots level, and it's very difficult to organize a group in opposition to those referendums because you're up against a whole lot of money.
Right. Oh, sure.
I mean, the casino interests can pump money in very quickly.
But nowadays, you're up against money either way. I mean, we had Bill Knapp and others working on this.
Right.
In support of the casino in Cedar Rapids.
Right.
And then you had the existing casinos pumping lots and lots of money in on the other side.
Yeah, and we didn't, well, I'll tell you, Ed, we did not go that direction when we organized Casino Truth for Jasper County. When we organized that group, we did not and would not accept money from a competing gambling entity.
You were actually offered and declined?
Well, we made a decision in our very first meeting that we would not even entertain those situations. So it never came up because we said
that was off the bat. That was before you were an elected official, but
it was.
And a politician, whether in office or previously or afterwards, that says no to some money, I'm very impressed with that. That doesn't happen too often. It happened with me. It's Pam Yoakum has done that.
Yeah.
And former Minority Leader Dave Schrader did that. When he was offered $5,000 from a hog confinement interest, he said, "I can't take that. I've been leading the charge against, against unbridled expansion of corporate confinement."
I know Dave and work with Dave, and I have nothing but the most respect for him. He's a great guy, and I can see him doing that.
Yeah.
But we made the decision right off the bat when we organized our group in Jasper County that we would not accept money from any gambling interest, and so we crossed that hurdle right off the bat in our first meeting, and we didn't have to deal with it down the road. Here's the most interesting statistic about that referendum vote. We spent a total of $3,000.
Right.
That was it.
Wow.
It bought some yard signs. It bought some TV, not TV. It bought some newspaper advertisements, and it bought some yard signs. And that's about it. That's really all we needed.
Yeah. Now, beyond the issue of gambling and the funnel deadline, what's anything specific of public interest happening at the State House that the rest of us might not know, but you might know because you're on the inside?
I'm going to say that I don't know if it's because this is my second term and I'm learned the ropes a bit better, or if it is just the nature of this session. And I've mentioned this on your show before, things are running smoother. I mean, it seems like folks from both sides of the aisle seem to be at least making the effort to work together. Now, we do have some extreme legislation that's out there. Getting rid of no-fault divorce and some of the issues that deal with a woman's right to choose and so forth.
Yeah,
the hot topics,
the
they're
usual
still out there.
anti-gay marriage thing.
Yeah, there's an
sure.
the legislation does exist, and we've got to keep an eye on that. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere at this point.
So I mean, it is surprising too, because we have a large freshman class this
Very
year
large.
because of redistricting.
Yeah.
2012 again, new district boundaries, lots of open seats.
Yep.
So you've got more people, getting elected in 2013,
Yep.
than more new faces
Yep.
getting elected.
And
than
the new members of my caucus, I'll tell you what, it seems like they've been there for quite a while. They came in, they learned the job, they are doing great work.
Oh, that's an argument for term limits, I guess. If it doesn't take you as long to figure it out, maybe you can move on quicker too, right?
Might be an argument to keep those folks there for a long time too.
There's that too, I guess. All right. So, speaking, there's a bill that would, and again, this was passed in a Senate subcommittee, and I don't know whether it will make it out of the full Education Committee today or not. Maybe it has, but it would allow, roughly 5,000 young immigrants who are in the U.S. It would allow them to stay based on the presidential order on deferred action. It would allow them to stay and pay the same rates at state universities as other Iowans pay.
Basically, our version of the DREAM Act is
it's
very
a
similar.
localized, scaled back version of the DREAM Act. Yeah. So
very
how is that?
I don't know that that's going through the Education Committee.
Again, it may. It's in the Education Committee. Whether it will make it through, I don't know.
Right, that's what I mean. I'm not sure that's going to get through.
Do you have any sense? Okay, I got you. Do you have any sense as to whether the House has any interest in that bill? Should it get through?
Well, I think it should. I offer it my full support. I'm not on the Education Committee, so I've not been able to follow that closely. But it's one of the bills that I think listeners need to maybe check your paper tomorrow, see if it got through the subcommittee meeting.
It seems like it's something Republican. I mean, you notice nationally, Republicans are trying to sound a little bit more moderate, a little less crazy on some issues like gay marriage, like immigration.
Right.
And this would be an opportunity for moderate Republicans here in Iowa. I mean, Bob Ray would totally have supported that. Bob Ray was a huge advocate for helping to relocate and to acculturate immigrants who were coming from, backgrounds where it wasn't healthy or where you couldn't survive.
Right. Access to education is important for everyone. We need to make sure that down the road, even if this doesn't pass through this time, we need to pursue it again.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
And that's the way I feel about a lot of the bills that are out there right now. There are some very bad ideas that have been defeated.
Well, let me ask you about
but
this
there's some
idea.
very good ideas that haven't gone forward.
This one caught I had not ever heard of this one until just the other day. House File 378, which would allow Iowans to collect winnings of up to $500 per day in fantasy sports leagues, which is an internet-based way of making these teams up based on real players. Mm-hmm. But again, I've never done it, but I know people are really into it. But $500 a day. I mean, are the casinos against this one too?
Oh, I can't speak for them. I don't know what they're looking at on that. But my concern about that bill is, sure, you can fill out your brackets for the March Madness tournament. I'll fill mine out and compete with my friends just for pride, and don't put any money on it. It's hard to find those folks, but they exist.
Well, it passed.
And I love fantasy football, but I play in a league where we win a trophy. Yeah. We have a traveling trophy.
Okay.
I mean, there's ways to enjoy fantasy sports.
You could be winning $500 a day, Dan.
Well, I'm pretty good at it. Ed, so.
But no, I mean, it passed the subcommittee in the Republican House, and Republicans, again, gambling is really not a partisan issue, but I was surprised.
I think this is just my read on this bill. I think it's been introduced by a new legislator on the Republican side, Representative Highfill. I think he's probably been involved in some fantasy football leagues and, it's from his own personal experience. And so he's put the idea forward. Right. But my concern about it is that it'd be very easy for the Iowa Lottery, or it'd be very easy for casinos to put together a a more expanded version of what is fantasy sports.
Right.
I mean,
or this could be the nose under the tent of internet gambling.
This could be altered so that it's not just a group of friends getting together, over chicken wings, drafting their team in August and playing the league out. I could see where this could be exploited and expanded.
I doubt it'll go anywhere, but it is interesting.
And there are folks that participate in fantasy sports that don't put any money into it. I'm one myself, and that traveling trophy's been in my basement for a couple years.
Oh.
So I love fantasy football, but I think we need to remove the gambling aspect of it.
All right. Well, Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ed.
Good luck. You're beyond Funnel Week next week,
yes.
And you'll be doing a lot more floor debate.
Yeah.
So you'll be getting up, talking a lot.
We're heading into floor debate mode, so
interesting.
It's shifting gears.
It's a more interesting time of the session from the public's point of view. So we'll see.
From the public point of view, I can see that that's the case because I'm not so far in that I don't remember how I looked at it before I was there. But the work really happens in those subcommittees.
Right.
That's when folks need to pay attention, and that's when folks need to come up
This is true.
That is when they need to come to the Capitol, find the room where the meeting's being held. And if you don't have anything to say, just sit and listen, because that is how you learn how the legislation's really put together.
Very true.
Where what's that cliche, where the rubber hits the road?
Or the ball hits the bat, or the diver hits the water, or in my case, in my neighborhood yesterday, the car hits the hydrant.
Right. Having served in the legislature now for 2.5 sessions, the constituents who contact me who are really involved in a bill and want to know when that subcommittee meeting is, those are the folks that I know understand the process. They're not just picking something up they heard on the radio, or not to knock the media, Ed, but or the newspaper, and
that's my job.
And being told they should be upset about something, so all of a sudden they're upset about something. They actually want to see good legislation go forward. Good. So.
Well, Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Stick around and listen to Max.
Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
We'll be back soon, folks, with Max Wellman joining us, and also Nikisha Phillips. And I want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. That's the accounting firm established by Ying Sa that has grown from Ying doing taxes for somebody to over 3,500 clients. It's now the 10th largest accounting firm in the state. You don't get to be big without being good in most cases. Not in all cases, but in Ying's case, she's worked hard. She's assembled some really quality people. And if you're just a standard, W-2 tax-paying individual, you can get your taxes done for $97. That's a pretty good deal. And the nice thing about getting your taxes done with Ying, you might miss mistakes. I found that out the hard way, and Ying was able to find me and a sizable refund. So check her out, folks. Ying Sa with Community CPA. Give her a shout at 288-3188. That's 288-3188. We'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
This is Dr. Holding of the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Since 1994, Sid's Catering has graced Des Moines area events with quality service and rave reviews. Owner Sid Cohn's culinary career began with a Northeast Iowa vacation home for international clientele. Sid earned a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Restaurant Management and was the assistant clubhouse manager at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. Sid has a passion for fresh, local products and offers a wide range of options, including vegan, gluten-free, and ethnic. Mention the Fallon Forum when you book your breakfast or lunch event and get 10% off. Contact Sid's Catering at 208-1200. 208-2091. That's Sid's Catering at 208-2091.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients, and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb, and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. Perhaps you recognize that tune. That is a tune by Max Wellman, and Max is in the studio with me. I want to thank Max for joining us. We're going to talk with Nikisha Phillips in a little bit as well. And I want to thank Hawk Restaurant for sponsoring this segment of our show. Max, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you've got a big event coming up.
Yeah, a couple. March is a little bit, I mean, at any given time throughout the year, there's always, kind of several things that are up in the air, several balls up in the air, and you're kind of just waiting to see what falls. And this month, a couple of things did, and it's kind of like, all right, let's do it. So next Wednesday, there's a concert at the 4th Street Theater with a string quartet that I've been working with that's actually based in Indiana.
That's associated with Java Joe's.
The 4th Street Theater,
right?
Yes. And then on March 23rd, a big band show back at Hoyt Sherman Place. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks.
Yeah, wow. So in these, anytime you've got a concert that's somewhat unique, there's a lot more prep time for it. If you're doing the same thing over and over again,
true.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I do try to mix it up, do a couple of different things each year, just to, shake things up. And this was the case about a year ago. I started working with a good friend of mine, Sam Wells, who's a composer and a trumpet player from Des Moines. And we put together this kind of classical and jazz kind of hybrid program, kind of mix between the two genres, and put on a concert in last July, with the Bellin Quartet.
Right.
And it was wonderful. I mean, we didn't really know what to expect from it. It was a new thing for both of us.
A type of fusion, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, what it is, not to get too... I don't know, hoity-toity with it, because really it's simple, just beautiful music.
You're a jazz musician. You don't do hoity-toity.
Yeah, but this is a little bit different. I mean, it's the thing that I love about a lot of those old standards is just like the raw, simple beauty of those melodies for being popular music. Right. And my idea was that if you got a classically trained composer to treat those melodies, you could come up with some really beautiful music, and that's what's happened.
So ticket sales are going pretty well?
Yes, and we did an event at 4th Street last month for Valentine's Day, and that was kind of my first thing there.
That was fantastic.
Yeah,
You had a good crowd.
Yeah.
I was there for the early showing.
Right. Both shows went very well.
Early show.
That's okay.
How the 9 o'clock show turned
went
out?
very well.
Good.
Yeah, I was very happy with that, and that kind of led to, well, let's do the concert here in March.
You know, I refer to Des Moines as the cultural and culinary crossroads of the continent, and you returning to Des Moines have certainly helped make it that. I mean, there's so much good stuff going on here, food-wise, music-wise, art-wise, theater-wise.
Yeah.
And certainly, you're a part of that, and it's very much appreciated. So if folks want to get tickets, what do they do? To either the event on the 13th or the concert on the 23rd?
For the event on the 13th, which is now, 6 days away?
Yeah, close.
Those tickets run through my website at maxwellmanmusic.com, and the tickets are just $10. So that's similar to February.
And I think people appreciate the price tag
Certainly.
remaining affordable. Hopefully you're still making a living.
Yeah, it's an experiment.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing experiment.
Yeah. And again, the Songbook Project is an exciting. Maybe you should mention that too. I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's a subscription service that I offer throughout the year. Kind of sends out music to subscribers throughout.
Literally, it comes. I mean, my CD came in the mail the other day.
Yeah,
and I like that touch because you get it online, you get it electronically.
Yeah.
It's not the same as getting the hard copy in your hand. I stuck it in my computer and I listened to the whole thing the same day.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Max, thanks so much for joining us. Max Wellman, folks, with the Max Wellman Trio. Again, check out his website, maxwellmanmusic.com. And again, thank you for your support of this program.
Yeah, thanks as always.
Switching gears. Well, we've got we've always every Thursday for the past month or so, we've been doing a special feature with Nakisha Phillips. Someday, she's not going to be able to join us because she's going to be so close to delivery that she's going to say, Ed, it just ain't going to happen. Anyway, I hope you like the bumper music we picked out for her. Nakisha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ed. I love your outfit today, by the way.
Thank you. And
It looks very like you should be golfing at St. Andrews or something.
Golfing?
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I like it.
You know, I've got to be one of the two worst golf players in the world. I think I'm the only person I know who lost yardage on a shot.
I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that means.
That means I was going that way, and my next shot was from further back from where I cued off.
Well, yeah, then that's pretty bad. Probably.
Well,
that's pretty bad.
At least I can do something else for a living.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay, so you're rolling toward the big day here.
Yeah, every day.
What's the plan?
Getting closer. Well, actually, Jess and I met with our doula on Sunday, and we discussed our birth plan. So
you do have a plan?
Yes.
Okay.
In black and white, or under construct anyway, to be in black and white.
Matching the color pattern on your jersey. There.
I have discovered the lovely world of patterns when you're pregnant. It distracts
other people?
From the large stomach you're carrying usually. So I've been wearing a lot of patterns lately. It's a doula helps you put together a birth plan, especially if you're delivering in a hospital and want more of a natural childbirth. So she went over some things with us. There's actually, for people that are interested, there are actually birth plans online that you can go and find. And it kind of brings up questions that you may not have thought of in the process, like during birth, like pre-birth, during the birth, after your child's born, whether you want certain vaccinations done in the hospital, circumcisions, those kind of things that you don't even think about until
until it's like thrown at you and you're in a very vulnerable state and probably not inclined to want to think about it.
Right.
So I mean, those are two good questions. What do you do about vaccinations? What have you guys thought about? Are you still working on that?
Yeah, that's a thing that we're still really researching and working on. There's been tons and tons of research out there on both sides. So that's something Jess isn't really into. I do most of the research and relay my research to him via lecture usually, or I profess. Well, not lecture in a bad way, but it's like I'm a professor teaching him, or professing.
Well,
to
you
him.
are more intimately involved in the process at this point.
That's very true.
Of course, that changes after some point.
That's very true. I think our main concern, we're actually meeting with our midwife next week, is what to do in case of an emergency C-section, which is not something that we want. Obviously, we didn't schedule a C-section.
Right. But you want to be prepared for that option if again, you don't want it to happen, but if it does, you want to be ready.
Exactly. And for women, I have particular circumstances that I have to really make the nurses aware of, and my midwife and my doula, because I'm a survivor of sexual trauma from when I was very young. So those things, when you're in the hospital and you're in a very vulnerable state with your pants off, those can be very strong triggers for you. So we're working with the hospital to try to figure out the best plan of attack if something were to go kind of not with our birth plan.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned one other thing that you're working on in the plan, and that's the question of circumcision.
Well, if we do have a boy, that's something that, we have to consider, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, neither am I.
But it's one of those things
as a victim, I speak.
See, that's what I'm saying. It frightens me. I don't even know. Yeah. But Jess is obviously a male, and he has very clear opinions on it, and I kind of just don't know, and I don't want to think about it really.
Okay, well, then I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, but it's something that I have to really do more research on.
You probably do have. I mean, again, as you said, you want to be ready for these things.
Yeah.
When the time arrives. Exactly. And again, that particular decision, you have some time to consider, but it doesn't hurt to think about it ahead of time. Yeah, and I my own 2 cents worth, not a fan. Show me the medical necessity, and also explain to me why it is not. I mean, you're inflicting pain on a kid that
I know.
It's not
that
necessary.
You try to bring into the
it's
world.
Not needed. It's
non-violently.
I'm still really, really pissed off at losing my foreskin. Is what I'm trying to say.
Hey guys, you didn't know this was happening today. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that you just have to, Strangely enough, I was talking to my aunt about it, and I said, if we have a boy, we have to think about this. And I said, I don't know if I want to do that. And she's like, well, remember your uncle? And I was like, no, why would I remember my uncle doing that? She said, well, when he was, middle age, I want to say not middle age, but in his 30s, he had to have one done. And
really?
I don't know. I probably don't want to know why.
Yeah, that would suck. I give you that.
But, I was like, oh, okay, well, and then.
But I would want to know more about that before I would base any kind of
exactly
scientific or broader viewpoint on an anecdotal example.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things that among a long list of things that we have to really research and just come to a decision on. So. Well,
again, thank you so much for joining us, Nikisha. Appreciate you taking the time to come in. I'm learning a bunch here just having you on the show, and I'm sure other people are learning stuff as well.
Well, I hope so.
And now I know why pregnant women wear polka dots, to distract us from the large belly.
That's why I do. That. I don't. Maybe other people like them. I don't know. But.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
Folks, tomorrow Ron Yarnell is with us. We don't normally talk religion on the show, so Frank from Des Moines, if you're listening, tomorrow's your big day because Ron's going to be here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Bible as it relates to politics. We're also going to talk about climate change a bit. And we're going to talk to the Des Moines Register about why the heck, not talk to them, talk about why they would come out in support of the Keystone Pipeline. We're also going to talk with Scott Hartstruck about the upcoming Justice After Hours, Equal Justice After Hours Legal Aid Society event. I want to remind people about the Catholic Peace Ministries Dingman Dinner this coming Saturday at Our Lady's Immaculate Heart Church in Ankeny. That's 6 p.m. Sister Simone Campbell, Nuns on the Bus. She's going to be speaking, and Sally Frank Drake, law professor, will be receiving this year's award. I also want to thank Hawk Restaurant for sponsoring this segment of our show. Hawk has raised the bar, folks. They are getting 90% of what they serve from local sources. A fantastic restaurant in East 5th and Locust. You should check them out for lunch, for supper. They really are going the extra mile to do some amazing stuff with food. Just create creatively, too. But again, sourcing from local markets. Fantastic. Again, check them out, folks. That's Hawk Restaurant, HOQ, at East 5th and Locust. And again, I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio. And again, I want to thank Max Wellman for joining me and for providing this great tune as we take this show out.
Nick Reeser at the end.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.